And accompanying me, as always, is the lovely Betty Nelson.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. We
We're
appreciate it.
glad to have you on board. And we're glad to have all of you in attendance today. And we look forward to talking about our top 10 critical technology topics for lawyers.
Yeah.
Betty, you and I talked about this for quite a bit. So, boy, trying to single this down to just 10 topics to keep it under 30 minutes was a lot because there are a lot of things that we could talk about. So we're going to go ahead and start it. As usual, we're going to turn off, at least for me, my ugly mug so you can uh,
Definitely.
easily pay attention to the presentation we have prepared for you. So
Awesome.
let's go ahead and move on into item number 10.
That's right.
What do we got here?
This is item number 10, and it is going to be about, as I just dropped my script. Thank you very much.
Artificial intelligence.
Thank you, Joe.
Is that iRobot? What is that going on right there?
I really do appreciate that. That's the lawyer of the future right there.
That's it.
Please say no.
Well, at least maybe not anytime soon, because there's a lot that goes on in the head of an attorney to make decisions, to juggle schedules, and to balance out what is needed. But this whole AI thing could really change how lawyers and legal departments work. AI, aka what they really refer to as machine learning.
Machine learning, right?
Yeah, that could be used for what kind of things? What kind of things?
It could be used for legal research and programs that predict litigation outcomes. E-discovery software can speed up the time-sucking task of searching through many documents.
Yeah,
What
that's a
else, Joe?
biggie. Well, so faster is always better. We're always
Mm-hmm.
looking for ways to do that. And of course, we like to do things more efficiently, aka cheaper, without the loss of quality, of course. But this is still in its early stage, and we don't know exactly how it's going to evolve within the legal industry at this point. But this is definitely something you want to keep an eye out. Keep a note on things called AI applications that are focused on things like due diligence, contracts, legal analytics, and other critical functions that may come across your desk.
It's definitely
Now,
a hot topic in certain markets. And I do think it's going to take a while to get to Sacramento to be used widely. But I'm also hoping we can program nice attorneys that will give longer lunch hours to support staff.
right.
It's true.
Now, that takes us on to item number 9. Now, this is an
This didn't go.
interesting one. Oh, well, we didn't advance our slides like we had wanted to. Sorry about that. There's artificial
There's our
intelligence.
9. Okay.
Yes.
There we go.
See if we were you were using AI on that and it didn't quite work as well as we wanted to. About machine intelligence. But now, item number 9.
Yes.
This is an interesting one because I think everyone really thinks about this, right?
We do. And what this really refers to is legal lien. It's a term, believe it or not, they're talking about. What it refers to is a combination of process improvement, project management frameworks, and tools geared toward legal practice to identify the waste in a process, identify the defects in a process, and adapt them to the legal environment. So in this definition, lien equals overhead of 20% or less as a percentage of revenue. Why? Well, here are a few things that are driving attorneys to practice lien. Google, free stuff, self-service, mediation models. Essentially, they're leveraging the internet to create a larger geographic practice, offer routine services such as collections, bankruptcy, and family law, use a virtual office, and outsource resources.
So in today's world, you can contract out your like a document review process to a company like Cicada, and suddenly you're paying attorneys in another state that'll work a lot cheaper than probably in the state that you're currently working in. For example, I think this particular company, they're out of Alabama, and they are going $35 an hour compared with what's going on for California rates.
Right.
So using this to identify a process that can be improved throughout your firm, and then of course create a consistent, reliable, efficient, predictable outcome. That's where you want it to be at. You want it to be predictable.
Yep.
So many people in legal areas will do things that way because they're like, well, this is the way we've always done it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right way to do it. And that's kind of what legal lean gets you starting to think about, is breaking outside of this is the way we've always done it. And of course, technology has changed and evolved in a way that now that process might be able to be streamlined and improved. So
Correct. It's true.
that's
And
why it's on our list.
yeah, and I have to say, now that I work with many law firms, as opposed to being employed by a single law firm, I can really see that a lot of the things we believed in the past about profitability being the only thing that matters is simply not true. I know firms that operate at 20% or less in terms of these types of costs, and they don't have to work as many hours. They can spend more time with their children, and they're bringing more money home than when they worked at the big firm they came from. The other thing is, I also have a client that doesn't have any secretaries, and they have about 7 attorneys. So there are many ways to become legal lean, and I just think it's time to take a better look at that, especially in terms of technology.
Yes. That's the key part, is keeping an eye on it and being willing to make a change, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Now, our next item, number 8.
Number 8.
This is one we get a lot of questions about through the technology side of things. And this is applications.
That's right. I'm going to tackle the first half of this list and let you handle the rest, Joe.
Oh, sounds good.
Number 1 in our mind is productivity apps. And of course, we're going to include Microsoft 365, but we have to mention Google Suite as well. It is really coming up for the people that don't want to be tied to Microsoft, that don't want to pay their fees. Google Suite is pretty amazing. And when we get over to data backups, it's also available for Google Suite. That's how seriously Datto is taking this topic, that people want to use less expensive solutions. So productivity apps, number 1. Number 2 would be PDF applications. They are used so widely now, creating PDFs so people can't edit your work. You can lock down the security. And believe it or not, right now, we say Adobe Acrobat is the best way to go.
What?
Yeah, I know. We have been everywhere across the board with different applications. Joe and I have 2 or 3 that we use, but I pay for my own Adobe Acrobat DC Pro for a reason, because I want to be able to have it on 2 desktops and be able to use it on the web. And I don't know any other products that I rely on that also have a web-based feature for when I'm not near any computers I would normally be using. And I can just do so much with it. And they're constantly improving the product. And they've recently partnered with Microsoft. So a lot will be happening in a short period of time. Then document automation, which kind of goes back to legal lean and artificial intelligence, starting to see a theme here. We love what Lawya can do. They are an amazing group out of the Bay Area, and they started out, just sort of creating something that was more along the lines of a judicial counsel online program with signatures available. But now they've added a document automation tool, and it allows you to quickly convert frequently used Microsoft Word-based legal documents into easy to populate online templates. So it is definitely up and coming, and people are having a lot to say about it. Joe, I'm just going to let you take the rest.
Yeah. So the rest of them, next is number 4, document management programs. Uh, an extremely useful part of any law firm. In firms that are not using them, it's a great way to elevate how you're taking care of things, having insight to your documents, searchability, as well as the ability to audit and know what is being used and who has access to what, who emailed what, who edited what, and things like that. World Docs is a real leader in document management. We also had a lot of interest in Net Documents, which has a presence that grew out of an online portal and web-based document management. Has a lot of options for collaboration. Then you have time and billing applications. Boy, this has really gone through a lot of changes in the last few years.
It has.
And the two that we really like, TimeSolve, TimeSolv, really, really nice, very fluid, easy to use. It helps that it's very reasonably priced.
Yes.
And then, of course, Clio. Clio is kind of on a different level because it does time and billing, but also has a lot of other value-added functions and features that can go along with it, such as docketing and calendaring. It
Case
has document storage. It has some
case
case
management.
management type
Yeah.
of things that go
Yep.
into it, which kind of goes into the next level, which is case management software. Now, Clio, not technically being a case management software, has some case management type of functions. There are a number of I think we talked about this, Betty.
We did.
We have firms that do personal injury that are really well involved in their case management software, such as Prevail is one that a lot of them use. And there are a smattering of others that manage things on a case-by-case basis and being able to track, phone calls, documents, the billing, and everything according to that particular case at that level.
Right. And the
Number
reason
7. Oh,
hold on real
yes.
quick. The reason we didn't list additional focused items there under case management is because it's really practice specific. So if you're looking for case management tools, you really want to find one that was intended to work with the type of law that you're practicing. And Joe and I are always
Yes.
happy to help you talk through that.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a key point to bring out. Thank you for mentioning that, Betty. Another one that is really big, number 7, data backups. There's things such as having backups of your online type of things, using Datto for Office 365 and your Google apps,
Right.
in OneDrive. You have desktop services for backing things up. A service that we enjoy using and many of us use is called Backblaze, which has a yearly fee and will back up a single computer with no limits on how much space that takes up. Really, really easy to use, kind of a set it and forget it backup for your desktop computer. And then last but not least, number 8 is project management programs. And this has really kind of evolved over the last few years, and we've gotten more interest in it, and we've done research on these, and it constantly changes. There's
does.
programs like Hive, Monday.com. Another one is ClickUp, or Smartsheet is another one that comes up quite frequently. So having those type of tools, collaboration tools to work together, like your instant messaging tools or enterprise social networking tools like Teams and Slack, are really helpful to work together and manage things together and collaborate together. Many of those kind of built into Office 365 that we've talked about in an earlier webinar. But many of these applications and these categories have both desktop computer versions and mobile versions, which
Right.
you kind of have to have because that's where things are going
They
to
are.
work
And
wherever you are and want to be.
these are all web-based, and that's the big change. Remember when, somebody in your office would say, an attorney would say, I need to get Microsoft Project because I have a Gantt chart from my client. And The reality is nobody ever used that program as it was intended in a law firm because it wasn't intended for a law firm. But what I love about the new modern project management is that it's A, highly customizable, and B, they are there are so many competitors right now that they are listening, and every suggestion you make that they can validate, they are quickly rolling out into the process. So if they don't have what you need, they will quickly, and I can vouch for that. So this group of software providers is really up and coming and could really add a lot of value.
Absolutely. Now, our number 7 item is document automation. This is an important one. Document automation, basically think of it as using a template plus data already within your firm to quickly generate like a customized legal document, a letter, or some type of memo. And this, I have to say, this is one of the most beneficial technologies available to law firms because it allows you to remove the need to edit and create documents manually.
That's right.
So plus, then it's going to reduce, of course, if you're not doing things manually, that's going to reduce errors, the human, our human touch, reducing how many times we have to manually touch things because you're automating the process and eliminating that. And, Betty and I, as we've gone through, the different clients we've worked with, there is still a lot of manual editing and touching of these documents, right, Betty?
Oh, absolutely. I have to say that estate departments figured this out a long time ago. Because think about it, a will, a trust, all of those types of documents that you need power of attorney that you create at the time, they're very repetitive. There are a few things that change. But for the most part, estate lawyers have worked closely with paralegals to get these documents out timely. But we're starting to see this show up in other areas as well. I mentioned Lawyer earlier, but I have to mention them again because even the idea during COVID, it was so helpful to be able to create, complete, and sign judicial counsel forms online from any computer, send it to your client, and then there was a component built in where it would remind you if you hadn't gotten it back. It would allow you to send a reminder to the client. And because that was going so well, they did bring in this new layer where they're putting together documents out of the documents you use regularly. And one of the things I want to say is we've seen firms spend 6 figures on this. I've seen firms spend very little on this, but you should take a look again at the new stuff because it works way better. It's more slick and it's definitely less expensive.
Because I've worked with firms that have used, in the past, there was a program called Hot Docs that a lot of firms used in the past. That was really the only one around. But like Tira, Laya, they all have products now that are, leaning towards how to automate those clauses, how to automate creating these forms off of things that are very repetitious so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. Or, go find one of your old contracts you prepared, save as, and then, re-edit it.
Right, which is how we get corrupt documents.
Yes.
I mean, I'm all for making even doing this in-house and creating templates that are read-only, so you're at least not editing the same document over and over. And then there are many features in Microsoft Word and Outlook, for that matter, that allow you to automate some of your processes. So everyone just needs to dig a little, set aside some time to look into that. When I was a legal secretary, I only typed the body of a letter. Everything else I had automated. And that was in the 90s. So it's definitely doable. You don't have to buy specialized software. You just need to come up with a workflow that works for you and your team.
Absolutely. It's very easy to baby step into it. It's not an all or nothing type of thing.
It is.
Now, number 6. This one is this is a little bit of a biggie. We keep moving up the list here.
Yep.
This has to do with adaptation and adoption. So, basically, our clients, what their demands and what they're wanting is going to drive how a firm evolves its practice and your technology.
Yeah.
And to stay on top of that, you really have to be more proactive than reactive. You need to understand, what is it that I want, and then put those things into practice before others come and ask you for it.
Right.
You never really want to have a client asking you about a certain technology, and then you have other clients asking you about certain technology, and you're like, well, I guess I should be asking myself those questions. A little too late for that.
Yeah.
But new technology allows your firm to streamline, the process, the workflow. You get to have more reliable and predictable outcomes. We've mentioned that phrase before. Provide a higher quality work more quickly, and even sometimes even more efficiently, or AKA cheaply. Not cheap as in work product, but cheap as in reducing
As in
costs.
less expensive, right? But
Yes.
when you get in this situation where you want to make some of these changes, do you want to go with someone who says they can do it, or do you want to go with somebody who says they're already doing it? So you definitely want to work with people that are already doing this in advance, and be careful not to fall into the trap of throwing software at a problem
That's
versus
a key part.
versus solving the problem. And when I was head of IT for 15 years at a large firm, it was a big no-no to even approach this from a software perspective. I had a document, and you had to say what the issue was. You had to say why you're frustrated. You had to explain how you think it could work better. There was no place on that form for you to say the software you wanted, because so many large firms have a plethora of software on their desktops and very little of it's being used. So first, look at what you already have. Are you not using a tool that's sitting there, on your network that's available? Or is this a workflow situation? Or is it a deeper problem than that? But you certainly don't just want to keep authorizing purchases of software before vetting all of these ideas, because it's pretty common for a partner to come back from a conference and 100% sold because his favorite golfing buddy said their firm has this and can't live without it. Everybody's firm is different. And if you approach it from that viewpoint, you're probably going to get in some trouble, and your IT budget's going to be blown out of the water.
Well said. Item number 5
Let me catch
is, moving
up.
on down the list here,
Yes.
is, drumroll please, social media. Now, many of the organizations and many of you have social media policies. So the question is, do you? So we're not necessarily talking about using social media. We're talking about, do you have a policy on what your guidelines are? One area to focus on is geotagging, which can inadvertently reveal more information than intended about what might be an innocent social media post. You're familiar with what this might be involve. Think about metadata. We've all been in discussions about that. And geotagging is no different. And it can be attached to a tweet, a status update, a photo you upload to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or whatever, your TikTok video. And it provides the physical location and where you were when you made that post, and other types of information, where you're traveling, and etc. And it could allow someone to know that you're not home. It could make you vulnerable to break-ins or data breaches. It could reveal information that could breach client confidentiality. So it's important that we understand the repercussions behind those posts, even if they seem innocent and the intention is innocent. But be aware of the behavior and what those implications could be through social media.
Absolutely. I know numerous firms that also have policies about the content you post, especially when you're posting associated with your business profile. I think of LinkedIn when I think about that. And I think marketing departments in larger firms are driving that and probably double checking everything you're doing. But I wonder how many people realize your personal posts, in our current political climate, can be used against you to alleviate you of your employment with hot political topics. But aside from that, I can't tell you how many trials I've worked on where I am putting together demonstrative evidence for jurors, and I am shocked that the defense attorney had gotten from the plaintiff through a subpoena, etc., their private messages from Pinterest, their private messages from Messenger, on and on and on. This stuff is now coming into the courtroom, and it can be extremely embarrassing depending on what you did or said. This stuff really never goes away. We started using this type of information back when MySpace was around, and it's never stopped. I also know firms that will look up somebody's Facebook profile, and that will be part of their hiring decision. So everybody should be really careful about what they're doing on social media. I say now more than ever, for sure.
Absolutely. Item number 4. Here we go. Mobile devices and cloud-based software. Another hot topic. We're getting down to the top of our list.
To the nitty gritty. Right.
Yep.
I mean, nearly everyone has at least one mobile device, usually a smartphone, and some carry more than one. I know more than one person who likes to have a phone for work and their personal phone. I would never survive that, but to each their own. But has your cell phone ever been lost or stolen? There's a lot of information that we store on our mobile devices, and it's important to understand how your mobile devices work, what company information is on them, how to protect it, and how to back it up.
And
It's
gosh,
just a critical point.
it really is. And that's a great segue right into item number 3, which has to talk about, how many times we have to fill out those risk management forms on insurance for cyber insurance,
Yes.
data breaches. Yeah.
Data breaches.
So, man, they happen to all kinds of people and organizations every day, large and small, individuals, companies. What is your response plan? The 3 main types of breaches you're going to see, the most common. Number 1, ransomware. Number 2, plain old user error. And number 3, and close behind the tails of 2 and 1, phishing, email phishing. Now, we all know about ransomware where, it encrypts data on the computer, holds it hostage, and et cetera. And we've heard of, different entities and companies that have been breached by that. And this is where having a solid data backup really comes in handy. When your data gets encrypted, it gets held hostage. If you got a good backup, you just restore it and you recover. If you don't, you're going to be sweating bullets. And you're going to have to face a choice on what information you lose and whether or not you're going to pay that ransom.
That's right.
And it's a sticky situation.
It is. And this is where your backups count, because we never advise our clients to pay the ransom. We just say, let's rebuild the network from our data backup, make sure any of this ransomware software is off of all devices, etc. But this is where cyber insurance comes in, and it's really advisable for most firms. It's not that expensive, but people don't understand when you have a breach like this, sometimes firms aren't working from a matter of hours to up to a week. And when you think of all the billable time that's lost, not to mention just your business functions that you can't complete, it's a huge loss. So this is something that people need to pay way more attention to.
Absolutely. And then item number 2 goes hand in hand with data breaches as well. And this has to do with being proactive with security.
That's right.
Now,
I mean,
what does exactly does that mean?
well, not only having the right technology in place, but providing the training to all employees about how to recognize and prevent cybersecurity intrusions. Does your organization have a security training program for employees? Do you conduct security audits and internal security audits? Education and awareness are key. Not to mention that If you have large clients, national or international clients, even governmental clients, they will similarly request an audit of your security at your firm. And I can't tell you, unfortunately, how many times I'm tasked with this and I have to say no, 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 no. Not because we didn't recommend it, but because the firm never took it seriously. And they may lose out representing that client if they don't have enough security in place. And right now, there are so many cool things to help you do this. And we'll delve into that in another presentation.
And then number
Drum roll.
one, here we are.
Okay.
Survey says technical competency.
Yep.
It's the one. As of September 2019, 37 states, including California, have adopted the ethical duty of technical competency for lawyers. Now, this is a big topic. It's so big that, in fact, that we will soon be tackling that subject in a separate webinar and what that can do, how you can help yourself. Many younger attorneys are expected to be able to use technology in their legal practice, and many clients, they expect their attorneys to know what technology is available to them, understand how to use it, and to maximize the value of their legal services in what they're providing and using that technology. Cybersecurity, e-discovery is a big one, docketing, file sharing, and there's other existing and emerging technologies that are, it's changing because of the expectation. And that's critical for attorneys to understand as they become more and more widely used, not only by their clients, but also in the courtrooms and other legal settings.
I want to jump in and say something, Joe. Back in the day when e-discovery first came out, I could not get the litigation attorneys, specifically the senior partners at my firm, to understand how differently everything was going to be from that point forward. Like their request for production of documents, taken out of the evidence code from 1990 was no longer going to work. In federal court, you only get one chance at phrasing your request properly. You don't get to go back and edit it. That's their rule. So you have to know what you're doing. So I called in the top person to make a presentation about e-discovery because they wouldn't listen to me. And after that lawyer made that presentation, there were about 4 or 5 attorneys that chose to retire shortly thereafter. They just didn't want to do it. So nowadays, the bar associations, including ABA, aren't saying, giving you a choice. If you're practicing law, it is your responsibility. You are required to know how to use this technology, and training is the way to get there.
Absolutely. And you should be encouraging your firm to have a continuing technical education available to all the attorneys. And in many states, you can give MCLE credits, to be completed on that topic of technology, depending on the state and, where that can be held, but that can also be included in that. So that is the number one. And we're going to be having a whole discussion on this coming up soon that we hope to give you more information on.
That's right.
So that's our top 10. We hope you enjoyed that. It was a lot of information to cover, so we appreciate you listening in for that. As always, if you have any questions or like more details on anything that we talked about, we would love to hear from you. Feel free to reach out to us directly, or you can use the info@terrapintechnology.com as always to get more information.
That's right. Because at our firm, it's our first name at terrapintechnology.com. So Joe, Betty, we make it really simple, info, whatever you want to do. And next month, we are going to have a fun topic. We are going to share snippets of training that Joe and I give regularly on many platforms, a variety of topics. So we hope you can join us for that as well.
Yeah, there'll be some things on Word and Outlook and Windows and different document management systems, little teasers. And we look forward to sharing those with you for our next installment of Webinar Wednesday. Thanks again for attending, and we hope you have a wonderful day.
Thanks again, everyone.
Bye.